It really can't be that shocking these days when NFL franchises take multiple Georgia players. Part of that's math. I mean, Georgia had 13 players, if I'm not mistaken, drafted in this draft. But there was some pretty clarifying, clairvoyant, I guess. I don't know, whatever adjective you want to use to describe the Detroit Lions and their moves to get three Georgia Bulldogs in this draft. And the fascinating thing was their general manager, Brad Holmes, was asked about picking Tate Ratledge, Dan Jackson, and Dominic Lovett. Two of those picks in the seventh round, but Tate Ratledge, the number 25 overall. I'm sorry, second round. He was the second round draftee for them. Here's what he had to say about Georgia. He goes, it's talking about practice. He says, it's unlike anything else I've seen live in terms of college practice. The intensity, physicality, the detail, the tempo, the whole thing. He said, when you can go through that and you practice like that, you know that they are ready. So he's talking about the players that he's got from Georgia. Tate Ratledge, Dan Jackson, Dominic Lovett. You've got a wide range of guys there, by the way. You've got a former walk-on, you've got a transfer portal guy, and you've got a guy who signed out of the gate with the Dogs in Tate Ratledge and was a multi-year starter, a very good player, Carson Beck's former roommate. What Kirby and them were doing, it's not for everyone. And they're not always right about everything. But if you're wondering about the future of Georgia's program, all you have to do is listen to statements like that. That's all you have to do. Because I can assure you that places are not practicing like Georgia. Now, here's the caveat. It's not just from GM people. I mean, I talk to people around college football all the time. It's not the same at every place. And to some part of that is, well, we don't play like Georgia does, or I'm worried about the kids in terms of their longevity, stuff like that. But when you listen to people in the NFL talk about what they see, because behind the scenes, it really it makes me convinced that although it will not be easy, Georgia has not seen its last national title in front from Kirby Smart. It will not be easy, and some of that will have to do with what is Ohio State up to. What about Alabama, Texas? There are a lot of good teams, and Sark is not so far from the same thing that Georgia does in terms of the acquisition and development of talent. Texas had a bunch of guys go this week. Ohio State had a bunch of guys go this week. It was not surprising to see the draft, but I think when you start thinking about what the GM in Detroit had to say, unlike anything else I've seen. And so what happens at Georgia is, back in the day, you would scouts or GMs, but typically scouts would come into the second floor Butts-Mehre. They would walk through the little maze there. They would get their pass. They would go out to the fields and they would watch practice. I mean, they're watching practices all the time. So they see what Tate Ratledge is all the time. It's not a matter of, quote, what you're putting on film. Yeah, you're putting it on film, but scouts are seeing you all the time when you're in practice. They're seeing, Matt DeBerry goes to high school practices all the time. Chad Simmons, this is what these guys do. It's not new. And so you see what the players are like when it's normal. The vast majority, this is what people forget, is that although a typical NFL game is almost on the button 3 hours and 10 minutes, those 3 hours and 10 minutes are when you got to perform. The rest of the week, whatever the hours are in the rest of the week, 24 times 7 less 3, that's when the guys got to be getting ready for the games, living their lives. What are they like around the facility? Are they easily distracted or depressed? Do they have something other people simply do not have? And in the case of these guys, they don't. And I don't mean that as an insult. Tate Ratledge isn't doing cartwheels while he's playing. He's just doing the job. Same thing for Dan Jackson, Dominic Lovett. These guys are not irreplaceable. Everyone is. And Georgia's going to go through the process of replacing all three. So these guys are not sort of generational talents by any stretch. That doesn't mean they won't be in the NFL for 10 years. So are they Matthew Stafford? They are not. Are they, like Charles Johnson, who went in the third round, I think, or whatever it was? It doesn't look like it to me. So these guys have got to be non-superstar players in the NFL. And I remember talking to a guy, a friend of mine in the league that has since retired. And, I asked him why he stuck with the franchise he stuck with when his second contract rolled around. And I'm not even going to say the coach that he played for, but he said he liked the way that coach was, that franchise took care of him. And the most important part was usually it's just the quarterbacks that get to really pick where they want to go. It's sort of the high-level superstar player are the guys that get to decide. Matthew, Joe Burrow, quarterbacks, Most guys are not in the situation that, say, Saquon Barkley was in. Most guys are either with one franchise because that's the length of time, it's 5 years or fewer, or they're out of the league. I mean, most guys that are jumping around at the end, they're just good enough to jump around at the end, say 6 years, 7 years into it. So most of these guys are just normal players. So when these scouts see them and GMs come and they see what it's like at Georgia, and then they go to North Carolina or Georgia Tech or Tennessee or whatever, it is different. I mean, it just is. And there's some stuff going on at Georgia too that's going to really help it elevate. And that's already started, which is the reconfiguration of the way Butts-Mehre is laid out, or I should call it the Woodruff practice fields. I've laid this out before, and probably I'll do it in a video where I'm sort of more prepared to do that. But that will take Georgia's practices even to the next level. Like if you go to Flowery Branch and you see the way things are laid out in Atlanta, they've had it right the whole time. And I remember covering the Falcons in 2005 or whenever it was, 20 years ago, and they had the dorms where they didn't have to go up to, I can't remember where did they go to Furman? Was that where they were? It just wasn't great. So when they got down to Flowery Branch and they said, hey, we're going to do it right, they laid the fields out the right way and all that. Georgia still doesn't have that. Does that make a big difference? No, but I think it makes a difference. Well, I say no. On a day-to-day basis, when you have space and you can practice the way you want to practice, that makes a big difference. Quick example from my basketball days. We were building something at Coker. We have a brand new facility, the Deloach Center in Hartsville. It's a multi-million-dollar facility. And I was on the board of trustees at the time, and the question was, are we going to do a practice facility? I said, hell yeah, we're going to do a practice facility. It's a fraction of the cost, and you get 6 more baskets, and you get another facility where volleyball can practice, and women can practice, and men can practice. And then, you're not waiting for the women to finish at the facility for you to start practice at 6. Everybody can practice at 3 and be done at 6 and eat at normal times, not eat at 9 o'clock or not eat before practice. Georgia has the ability now to set the things the way they want to. So when these GMs come in, there's so much Georgia's gotten right. There's so much that has changed with Kirby for sure, but even before that, like sort of the dysfunction of the Damon Evans era is long in the rearview mirror. But the way that things have been structured and set up and all that, it's not a surprise Georgia has had success. It's not a surprise that they have committed as an institution in a way that they should have long ago. And I will be here to tell you if they don't. So I think that when you see a GM have these things that he's saying about this school and what it's like at Georgia, I'm not surprised by that, A. B, number 2, more importantly perhaps, I think, 2024, the best team in the country was Ohio State. I don't know who the best team in the country is in 2025, but Georgia's one of the best 5. There is no obvious best of that 5. To me, that probably means Georgia has a slight advantage over everyone else because they're used to this. I would say Ohio State is used to it too. But it's not, all things even, who would I pick on any given day? I'd have to have a reason to pick against Georgia in most of these cases. I was surprised when Duke lost when they did in basketball because they got it right so much this year. Yeah, so it's Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Oregon. They're all right there together. And Penn State, I would add there too. And then it's a cliff. It's a drop off. It's not a cliff, but it's a pretty big mountain going down. And then you get to Alabama, Notre Dame, and Clemson, LSU, and the Rebels. Georgia's still got a pretty challenging schedule. Of the teams I just listed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So of the top 10 teams that Las Vegas considers in the country, Georgia's playing 3 of them in the regular season. So, and then you just mosey on down to Tennessee, who's at, I think, 12 or 13. It's a loaded up schedule. Alabama's not playing Texas. They are playing LSU. A year ago, Georgia also played Clemson. So, they played just a slew of really difficult games. Now, part of that's living in the SEC. And we'll talk about all of that and more in a future video. Thanks for watching.